Right, and they're cracking down now on drugs in Amsterdam.
Oh man.
Did you know that?
I did not.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's like they're trying to like
What is
limit
going
that
on?
stuff going on for it's impacting the tourist industry because everybody comes there to, get wasted and get a blowjob.
Oh.
And they just, they want something different from
From there.
Huh.
That's
Yeah.
that's very interesting that Amsterdam is like, all right, that's enough of that.
Well,
I couldn't
welcome
imagine.
to Amsterdam.
Welcome to
Here's your
Amsterdam.
drugs and here's your blowjob.
Here's your drugs and blowjob, but this is the last one because we're not doing this anymore.
Right. Yeah.
Enjoy it while it lasts, friends. All right. Welcome back, everybody, to another Sunday evening episode of What in the World podcast. Get off with a hot start here. We are here with Scott Graham Stevens tonight, who I have named, and he loved this the Swiss Army knife of life. This man's accolades and things that he has done throughout his life are numerous. But some of the things that piqued our attention and interest in this is Scott has spent 261 days in silent meditation. Is that consecutive or is that just,
That's like 10 or 12 at a time.
10 or 12 at a time?
Boy, consecutive. Man,
Yeah.
Scary.
He also has done 1,610 nights spent sleeping outside. Is that kind of hand in hand as well, or did you do that one consecutive?
I hiked the Appalachian Trail. I did the GR20. I did the Long Trail. I worked for Outward Bound for many years and just racked them up months and months at a time.
That's interesting you say Outward Bound because when I was in college, I had a couple friends. They went on Outward Bound down in the Everglades a couple times. Down there.
I did my very first Outward Bound course. It was in Everglades. I was a student, and that course has been very pivotal. It's like set the trajectory for my entire adult life.
Well, there it is, right here. Outward Bound was what started Scott on his journey to becoming the Swiss Army knife. But yeah, some of the other things. Was it 11 muddy endurance obstacles? So is it 11 tough mudders or different variations?
13.
13 now. We're up to 13 now.
Yeah, we're up to 13.
Good Lord. 13. He also has published 15 books and
now up to 18.
Oh my goodness, he's now up to 18 books. Chat, 18 books, and you are a career and business coach.
I am. Yes.
He also let's see, we got a whole list here. I'm just going to pick out some of these. He's a firefighter instructor, a farm animal rescuer. Let's see. What else is on here? Like you mentioned, the Appalachian Trail through hike. He's a Tai Chi instructor as well. Let's see. We mentioned Outward Bound. He's an ordained minister and a college instructor. If you need somebody to do a wedding for you, Scott has you.
I got your back.
His information will be in the description.
There's competition here in the ordained minister world because I too am
Oh.
an ordained minister. So
bless you. You look very priestly. I
thank
thought of that
you.
when I first saw you. I'm like, this guy looks priestly.
I'm actually the only person on the face of the planet that's closer to God than the Pope. So they don't
you
pay
go.
me like the Pope
Wow.
does, but and that might be up for speculation also, but whatever,
And then a couple other things out here. Scott is also a licensed substance abuse counselor, a clinical supervisor, and a sports nutrition specialist, among many other things. And at the end of this podcast, I'll make sure I put all of his contact information in the description, so you guys will be able to go down there and visit his pages. But,
I have to tell you already, thank you for the Swiss Army knife description. I have a friend, her name's Cindy Hollis. A shout out to Cindy Hollis, although she's not going to be pleased after I said this. She has introduced me to people as a placenta of information. And let me tell you, the Swiss Army knife description is 100 million times better than the placenta of information.
The Swiss Army knife one would lend itself better to business cards. I feel like handing business cards out with the placenta of information is not going to go over too well.
I was just going to say, I don't know which one I like better, the Swiss Army knife or the placenta or information. I was literally getting ready to say, I'm not sure which one I like better, but maybe the Swiss Army knife on a business card might read better. But
if we're going for business cards, I'm gonna say we opt for Swiss Army knife. If we're just talking to anybody on the street, then maybe we can drop the placenta of information.
I mean, you want to talk about a conversation
starter. Placenta, right? Cindy already tried to make it nice by turning to me and saying, "Oh yeah, it's because you're so nurturing." I'm like, "Stop it! Stop!"
You are digging yourself a hole, Cindy.
Metaphors. God, Cindy Hollis. Yeah, placenta. That's what I want to be known for.
Shout out to Cindy. What? Next guest.
So with all the things on my Swiss Army knife, what do you want to talk about first? What blade is the most compelling?
I have so many questions. So I'm going to let Ben start first.
So I think mine is, well, so I have kind of, I guess, a little background on why this one is the one that I'm going to start with. I recently, and I don't want to say converted because convert is weird, at least for this, but I've recently moved into Norse paganism.
Here we go.
Oh, come on now, dude. And so I'm going down that path spiritually, and meditation in that has been a huge part and huge help in like trying to connect with that pantheon. So I'm interested to see what this the silent meditation like what drove you to start doing that for those days at a time, and just your experience with that.
Yeah, I was actually, I wouldn't say recruited. I had a friend who went and did a meditation course, and it was as it is for lots of people who go and do a 10-day course. It's so beneficial after the course. You are just so impacted by what you've gotten out of the course. You want to go tell everybody and their brother about it and recruit all these people because you're like, you should do it too. It was the greatest thing since sliced bread. And this guy was like, you should go. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to go for some sort of airy fairy bells on your feet type. I was just, no, I'm not going. And he persisted. And then I just acquiesced and went. And from that piece, it was just transformative. And here is the piece that, and I think this is an important piece because most people totally misunderstand what meditation is all about. They think meditation is about getting high and getting your rocks off and floating in the clouds and finding Jesus and all kinds of other stuff. And it's not. Really, it's not. A better way to think about meditation is to our crazy, messed up mind, like doing wind sprints is to our heart. And so there's no metaphysical mumbo jumbo with if you do wind sprints, if you go running, if you go hiking, you're going to have a stronger heart. If you do core exercises, you're going to have a better back. If you do the meditation process and develop a technique and practice, you're going to have a better head. The benefits of meditation don't come while you're meditating. Just like the benefits of running don't come while someone might get a runner's high, right? So I don't know anybody that's going to get a sit-up high working on their
trust me,
cores.
I go to the
maybe.
gym almost daily, and there's no high while you're out there doing crunches.
Right. And so you do that because, and then you know if the crunches are working when you can get out of bed easier, you can, pick up stuff, you don't pull your back out. All these things happen that happen afterwards. And that's how this technique is. And actually the 10-day course is, if someone's interested, it is pretty fucking miserable. Just like going to the gym is pretty fucking miserable. And they say to you, like on the third day, because everybody is like freaking out that's new and wants to leave. They're like, yes, everybody comes to this course thinking that they're going to be like, and they're all going to be high. And, then we give them these basic instructions, and then they're sitting there day in and day out, day from 4:30 in the morning till 9:30 in the evening. Really, it's difficult. It ain't easy. But the impact on my life has been unbelievable. Meaning that when life kind of, the vicissitudes of life, the problems, right? Flat tire, girlfriend leaves you, boyfriend leaves you, dog shits in the corner, all those vicissitudes of life that are inevitably going to happen, you then hit with a level of balance and equanimity. So the true result, like, someone says, I've been working out, I have lower blood pressure. If you do Vipassana meditation, what you end up with is more equanimity. That's the key.
Okay. I like that. Yep. That's.
And there's a lot to unpack there.
I know.
I've found
unpack away.
Oh, I know, Scott. You and I could literally sit for probably like 10 hours and chit chat. I'm on day 108 of my sobriety journey. And I have found meditation in my sobriety because similar to and again, let me not put this in the same realm of sitting in silence for, 90 days or whatever, or even 108 days if you just want to apples to apples it. But in the similar realm of sitting in silence, a lot of my friends, are the casual alcohol user. But at the same time, when you get into that many consecutive days, the shit ain't easy,
Right. You're right.
And it ain't easy, and holidays and birthdays and party, like, it's a fucking grind. You gotta be mentally strong enough to be getting into those situations where you're gonna have to tell people like, no, I'm not gonna take a shot. Like, no, I'd love for you to buy me a beer, but it's not gonna happen. It gets to be a grind 100%. And at the same time, it does set you up for someone cutting you off in traffic, to not have such a visceral reaction. And
right.
Are you? And I know you're like
the old you would have been like, somebody cut me off. That's an opportunity for a beer.
Exactly.
Somebody said this to me. That's another opportunity for a beer. And so you're I hope people that are listening don't take this the wrong way. Your gift of a life that has been destroyed by alcohol is going to help you grow faster than 90% of the population who just limp by, and then they have this epiphany of like you've had to get that's propelled you to get 108 days. They have this epiphany when they're like 90, and they're looking back on their life and saying, oh shit, what
Exactly.
happened? Right. So in many ways, the fact that you have this is a gift that's going to set the rest of your life in a very positive framework, because you're making those changes and not just being hoodwinked like so many people.
And I appreciate you saying that. And again, like you just said, the goal isn't to be like a teetotaler or whatever, to be like, oh, if you're drinking booze, you're not as good as I am. Because that's another weird thing that I've encountered in this like sobriety realm of like a us versus them type mentality. And listen, ain't shit I'm doing that's special. You know, like I'm not Einstein, I'm not David Goggins. Like, you know, there's nothing special about what I'm doing, but at the same time, when you do have that encounter in life of recognizing, okay, what I'm doing isn't working out so well. And it's working functionally in the sense that I get up every day, I have a functional life, and I go to bed every night. But when you get to that point where you can encounter some of those like very tough conversations with yourself and still make it through the day to where you're not just comfortable with the day that you had, but to the point where you're like, okay, I'm making sacrifices for someone else or making sacrifices for my own personal well-being. There's a little turn that happens there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Because while so many people in the world they don't need to take accountability for themselves, and they just drift along in a life of silent misery, like Henry David Thoreau talked about. You have made a choice to not do that and go down a path that's really challenging. You're looking at your life with a magnifying glass, where a lot of people, and a spotlight, where a lot of people are just kind of traipsing along in the dark. And so when something happens, because of the choice that you've put yourself in around sobriety, you now have to develop all these skills and awareness and abilities that other folks don't have.
Yeah. And
true.
Again, I really appreciate you saying that. And
people are going to be like, oh, you're pumping them up. I'm not sucking them up. It's true. I am telling you, it is absolutely true.
You're right, especially a couple of listeners that will have a bit like, okay, we get it, Alex. Yeah, he's made good decisions. No, but in one of my questions, so how many consecutive days did you spend in silence? Like your longest run?
So this is an interesting piece as you're talking about sobriety, because one of the keys that helps somebody in their own sobriety is having other people around them that are doing the same thing, right? It's really difficult if somebody is trying to try to do anything with people that are on the other opposite end of the pole, like try to lose weight and hang out with fat people. It's just not going to work. It's not going to work. You're going to sit on the couch and eat ring dings and watch Game of Thrones reruns. I mean, that's what you're going to do. And all these fat people are going to be like, oh, I'm offended. Anyway,
if you want to be fat, that's fine.
That's your prerogative.
No one's judging you.
But if you want to run, if your goal is to train, here's another way to think about it. If your goal is to train for a half marathon, you can't hang out with people that are just training to run a 5K. Because they're not going to push you there. You got to hang. And the same thing is true with sobriety. And the same thing happens when you take a course. So when you go for a course, so the longest period of days is like 11 or 12, because they start counting the day you arrive is day 0, and the day that you leave is day 11. So a 10-day course is really 12 days. and nobody talks that entire time unless you have a question. You can go talk to a teacher, and you can go ask a teacher questions. You can go up to a teacher and say, "I'm going crazy because I can't talk to anybody. Can you tell me a joke?" I mean, really, they're there to support you. But because you're in this location where 199 other people, there's 100 guys and 100 gals doing this all at the same time, plus the teachers and other staff that are there are all not talking. It's easy to not talk. It's easy peasy to not talk because no one's going to talk to you. In fact, not only is there no talking, but there is people that are old students and staff. They won't even look at you. They won't like if two people are like walking toward a door together, one of those people, if they're experienced, they've been around, will like stop and go the other way because no one holds the door for there's none of this. There's none of that. There's not, wink, wink. There's nothing. People like walk with their heads down, or some people that have been there for a while have a baseball cap that, so this is, you don't even see that. When that stuff's going on, it's easy to not, it's easy to not talk to anybody because it feels like it's impossible to talk to somebody because no one's talking to you.
Well, then maybe my question is, and let me relate this back to the being sober realm. Like the first, week after I was sober, it's like, okay, I'm going to the store and I'm buying like all these like zero sugar sodas. And I'm buying like new, like, flavored water drinks. And I'm like, okay, this is part of who I am now. And it's like, there's some sense of that's like new and exciting, and there's some sense it's like, okay, this is what I'm doing now. And then, maybe around like the 3 or 4 week mark, it's kind of like, okay, well, this is now the new normal. And it kind of loses that sense of like the new toy sense, if you will, to where it's like, okay, now this is really, I'm settling into this being my normal day-to-day life. And the kind of newness has worn off. And okay, yeah, I'm still proud that I'm doing this, but at the same time, I'm not, it's just kind of becoming old business. So like, how many days does it take to where you're like, okay, I get it, I'm at a silent retreat, but like, I'd really kind of fucking like to talk to somebody, Does that make sense at all?
Yeah, it does. But actually, something else, a better way to think about this is that, so I bet at some point early on in this 108 days that you went through, you had kind of an epiphany of like, this is fucking hard.
Yeah.
Or maybe you had an epiphany of like, wow, I thought drugs and alcohol were the problem. I'm the one who's really the problem. Holy shit, I got to do a lot of work. So what happens is when you are there, and this is actually why a lot of people leave, when you are there without other people talking to you, your voice gets quieter and quieter and quieter because you don't, there's no reading, there's no music, there's no journaling, there's no nothing.
When you say your voice, sorry not to cut you off, but when you say your voice, is that your internal voice that's talking?
The internal voice. The internal voice.
Yeah. Yep.
That's just it's stimulated by Facebook and Twitter and politics and this. It's got all this stuff all the time. So you take that away. It's like stopping watering a plant and a bad plant, a weed, and that weed starts to shrivel. And then what you're left with is this voice that's just you. And then you're like, holy shit, I am really fucked up. Like, I can't blame the news media. I can't blame this person. I can't blame that because I'm not just talking to anybody. It's just me. It's just me and this simple meditation technique. And I am fucking crazy. And almost every person has that awareness
Mhm.
on that piece.
That's wild.
And then after you've had that awareness, then the thing that happens is, all right, what am I going to do about this? I never realized how crazy I am because I thought it was Mary. I thought it was Bob. I thought it was Phil. I thought it was Fred. I thought it was news. I thought it was Biden. I thought it was Trump. I thought it was the Supreme Court. That's me. It's fucking me. And then it becomes this piece of, well, what do I do about it? And that's where you learn this technique to really, the technique really is about silencing the bullshit that your mind is creating. That's not how it's presented, but that's ultimately what happens, is that you harness that horse. You tame that horse and say, no. I am not working for you. You're working for me.
Right.
Like, who's in charge? Is it you? Is it the voice in your head? Who is it? Right? That's most people would be like, that's crazy stuff to talk about. But I tell you, it's true for every single, I bet it's true for every single person listening to this and watching this. It's absolutely true.
Interesting. So along those lines, I have another question about.
I told
I know.
you to reel me in. We're just
So-
gonna,
no,
and I'm telling you, we could
hang out,
literally.
we're gonna talk for the next 10 hours. and
Yeah,
then-
I know. I've been
Come
later
back.
enraptured by the conversation so far. It's been amazing. So this is, I guess, kind of falls on the same line as like the silence retreat and stuff. I don't know if you've seen or how close you follow like the NFL or anything like that, but Aaron Rodgers apparently, I guess this offseason at some point is going to a darkness retreat where dude is basically just in a pitch black room for like 4 days with nothing but himself. And they kind of just like push through food through like a prison slot in the door for him. I don't know
Wow.
if I could do that. I think I'd go crazy. Like 4 days in the pitch black, and you just start hallucinating, right?
Wow, that is wild to do that. They actually have on these courses later on in the course, they call them meditation cells.
Mm-hmm.
And I swear to God, they're just broom closets.
Yeah.
Harry Potter's
Potter's
room
bedroom.
under the stairs is bigger than these things that you're in. And all they
Jesus.
are is like a carpet thing with a little chair in it or a little cushion and a little nightlight that you flip off and you shut the door and you're completely in the dark. And you can't hear anything because it's a soundproof building and
Yep.
and it's really intense.
Yeah, and I think that's the same type of thing that Aaron Rodgers is going to do. I guess he's doing it to kind of, I guess, gain some clarity about what he's going to do this offseason. But I'm like, that seems pretty drastic way to freaking roadmap your career.
Right.
I'm actually very familiar with this process, although I have not spent the 4 days in the dark or whatever. I watched a documentary. The creator and founder of the On It brand, it's like one of Joe Rogan's brands now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
The guy seems kind of interesting in his own rights, to be perfectly honest. I wasn't like a huge fan of the documentary. It seemed very like corny, if you will. But there's no way to be an actor or be corny when you're documenting yourself being 4 days in complete isolated silence and silence and darkness. So they literally have, I don't know, it's maybe about as big as the office that I'm sitting in right now, but like down here there's a normal cot and then there's a sink and a bathroom and a shower, but you're just in a concrete maybe 6x6 block or something in the darkness. And in this documentary they were talking about when you get to a certain point of darkness, your brain literally starts to release DMT. And so you're tripping in a sense by just, suppressing all of these normal stimuli to your brain. And it was wild watching that guy go through it.
Wow.
Like he literally, so at the end of the 4 days, they bring you out to this deck and he's got like a blindfold on and like they set a cup of coffee in front of him. And as soon as he takes the blindfold off, he just starts sobbing. like, oh my God, I can actually see the light of day again. And I was thinking to myself, like, that would fuck me up.
No,
That would
100%, which is why I was like super like, what the hell, Aaron Rodgers? Like, I don't know why you would subject yourself to that. I'm like, I'm pretty sure DMT is easier to get than locking yourself in a room for 4 days with no stimulant.
Wow. And is there any instruction with this, or are you just in the dark? Like, do they say this?
I think they're just like, here you go, because I saw a snippet of it. Aaron Rodgers was talking to Pat McAfee on the Pat McAfee show, and he was like, "Yep, I'm going to do this like darkness retreat." And Pat McAfee was like, "What the fuck, dude? Like, you're just in a room in the dark for 4 days with nothing?" And they had so many questions, and Aaron was like, "Yeah, basically," and they just kind of push food in through the door every once in a while when you need it. And there's like, but yeah, I just go in there for 4 days, and I was like, I don't know if I could be alone with myself for 4 days like that.
You have
I'd be fine being alone with myself for 4 days, but then I'd end up going to the hospital afterwards from jerking off too much. I'm like, what did you do in the dark for 4 days? I know what I did in the dark for 4 days. Look at, I got to go get some medication on my hand.
And that's super funny.
You better
you
turn
say
off
that.
that video camera, son.
It's funny you say that, because the dudes on the Pat McAfee show were like, "Can you bring anything with you?" And Aaron was like,
Lube.
"I mean,
I want
you
to bring
can."
lube with me.
Yeah, like Aaron was like, "I don't."
KY.
And one of the other guys was like, "I'm bringing a bottle of lotion."
And a sock.
Yeah.
And a sock.
I was just like, God dang, dude. Like, I don't know. I could not. Yeah. So I don't know. The silence retreat, like that, kind of is what led me on that.
So there is no jerking off on the Vipassana retreat. They're like that. You actually take a piece and say, you know what? I'm not going to even. There's no masturbation. So you're not coupling up. They separate the boys from the girls, and they separate. Everybody has their separate room. So if you're gay, you have a separate room, and because they don't want you doing anything to stimulate yourself, whether it's, no pun intended, whether it's your hand or video or this, because the other thing that happens is that you're like, God, you're like, you think you're crazy, and then you're like, God, I'm a serial rapist. All I'm thinking about is sex all the time, right? And it's just these pieces come up so their instructions are very clear to not engage these things, to push through it, and you realize how addictive your mind is. A lot of people who are in recovery go to these retreats because they're like, it's like the next step, because you realize how addictive your mind is. It's not just a substance; it's to news and Facebook and Google and text and music and running and on and on and on. They don't want you doing push-ups. They don't want you doing yoga. They don't want you doing any of that.
Wow, that's crazy.
Do the technique. Yeah.
Well, and all that shit is very good at it, kind of closing the circle back to what you said earlier about, all that shit is very good at making you think that the problems you have in your life are not caused by you.
Right.
It's not me.
It's not me.
It ain't me. Listen, I know I said some fucked up shit when I was drunk, but I was drunk. You can't really hold that against me. It was the booze.
Yeah, it wasn't me. It was the booze.
Come on,
I'm a good person. The booze makes me a bad person.
Can we just move on past that? Because I might have said that, but listen, man, the bourbon was heavy. Okay, so can we just get on? Well, that does not fix the memory they have in their head of you saying this heinous shit that you said to them.
The hurt that it caused.
Right.
Yeah, so that's a very real reaction. It's a very valid reaction. And when we live in this cycle that we live in, to where it's so easy to not look in the mirror and just place our shit on someone else, of course we're going to place our shit on someone else. It's a lot easier that way.
Right.
So again, I'll quit talking about the sober shit, because we could do the whole podcast on that. But it helps you look in the mirror and realize that, everybody's got work to do, and there's nothing wrong with the human experience of, if we ain't growing, we're dead. So we might as well keep growing, And B, not only do we all have shit we need to work on, but we're fed this loop, this cycle, this, turn on a commercial turn on any major news network, and within the first 20 minutes, you're going to see some sort of advertisement for some sort of liquor. You know, that's just the way it's going to be. And it's not a party without booze. So, and by the way, are you even a grown up if you don't drink? I mean,
Right.
because the only people that don't drink are kids, you know?
Right.
And so now separate booze from that picture. That's every single fucking little stigma, every little addiction that every person has.
Right.
You know,
We even get addicted to, like, things will be better once I own the BMW. You know what? Things
amen,
will be
brother.
better when I move to Nebraska. And the people in Nebraska are like, things will be better when I move to Vermont. And on and on and on and on. Things will be better when you're out of my life. Things will be better when this happens. And none of that, things won't be better. So you make those things yourself and fix yourself.
If I just get the new iPhone, my
Yes,
phone will run faster.
right,
Let me
right.
waste
Yep.
$1,000 on the same thing again.
Yep.
Thanks for your money.
So asinine. So I kind of want to, I guess, change gears a little bit and ask Alex, what pushed you or set you on this direction of just exploring all these different avenues that you have, all these different things, you said you started, with Outward Bound, and that was really the starting point and the catalyst to everything. But you've done 13 Tough Mudders now. You're a firefighting instructor, farm animal rescuer, like all these different little like jack
How
of
did
all
I become
trades kind of thing.
How did I become a placenta? Is that what you're
Yes,
asking
how
me
did
then?
you become the
How did
placenta?
I become a placenta?
How'd you return to what you once were?
I think for me, part of my own addiction, if you will, is kind of learning and pushing new boundaries and challenging myself. And so it's a piece that I almost have like an unquenchable thirst for learning things.
Mhm.
And so it actually is a pain in the ass because every year now I have like multiple licenses, and I just figured out like a month ago, because I'm like, God, all I'm doing is CEUs so that I can get relicensed. And I realized that I need to do like 60 hours of CEUs every year to get
Good Lord.
relicensed. That's like a week and a half of my life
Yeah.
every year, work life, to just continue with those things that I need to do. 24 hours here, 8 hours there, 40 hours here. They all add up between, EMT and being a rostered psychiatrist and substance abuse counseling, and the list goes on. And now I'm doing benefits for folks, and so now I am studying. I just finished, had to get 24 CEUs on wills and life insurance, and
Goodness.
which is a thrilling. Let me tell you,
Yeah.
there is nothing more thrilling than sitting down at the computer and reading. Talk about something that's going to push you to alcoholism. Reading about life insurance.
Oh, I can
God.
relate. When I was in college, I did a little stint with this. It was a terrible idea, but it was I don't know what it was called. What was it called? Primerica, this insurance thing. It was like an insurance pyramid scheme. But I did a little stint with that, and having to go through and sit down on the computer and like go through all of those dry as Popeye's biscuit classes. I was like, somebody, I need water, please. This is killing me.
This disease of what do you call it again? Pocket knife.
The Swiss Army knife.
Swiss Army knife.
This Swiss Army knife disease goes all the way back to my college days. So this is the flip side, right? Because we look and we say, look at this person. This is true for every single person, by the way. We look at them and we say, look at these great things they've done, but we don't necessarily see the dark side.
Mhm.
And there's always another side to the coin. And so my dark side of the coin is that I graduated early from high school. And so I was, 17 when I went to college. I was just turned 17, and it was a crazy time for me. And so that started in 1981. And I went to school. My parents were just like beyond themselves like this. People would like, "What's going on with your son?" And they're like, "We don't know." Because I would go to school even in the summer. I was going to school full time. So fall, spring, winter, summer, full time.
Just no breaks.
It was 1987 and December of 1987 before I graduated. And my advisor called me in and said, "What are you doing? You just can't go to school forever." I had so many credits that they gave me 2 bachelor's degrees. So I didn't get a double major. It wasn't a double major. They were like, "You've got like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds." They were like, "Take your pick. What degrees do you want? Just get the degree
Take
and
them
get
and
the
leave.
hell out."
Take them
Right.
and
Take
leave.
it and leave, please. And so I graduated with 2 complete 4-year degrees
Wow.
that I just did at the same piece, and I switched my major from music to engineering to communication to psychology I got to know all the schools in the school. So that's the dark side of that, right? Because there's a stuckness to that, right? I was just, I could have easily had it not been for the 2-year French requirement, or so it could have been Spanish, but it was a foreign language requirement, and I had only taken 1 semester. And my advisor was like, "Look, if you don't do this now, you are going to be here for another 2 years. It's going to be, 1990 by the time you're going to spend a decade in college." And so that was my wake-up call to get out. And so that placenta disease goes way back.
Just had a couple extra victory laps.
Yeah.
Yeah, took one, and then that was cool. And then you said, "Let me have another, sir." And they said, "For why? Please leave."
Right.
You have overstayed your welcome, sir. That's hilarious.
Well, it only took me 3 schools to finally graduate. And although mine was a double major, so it wasn't 2 separate bachelors, I ended up with biblical studies and psychology, which is quite the pairing to have. But I loved it. It was 2 great degrees for me that taught me a lot about life and how people think.
Right.
That's for sure.
I took a half.
That's why you're right close to God now, because probably that trajectory that you set up.
I'm telling you, if it wasn't for that degree, I would not be the only person closer to God than the Pope. That's for sure.
Right.
But,
Yeah, I took a.
whether the Catholic Church tells me that or not, they can, they can piss off as far as I'm concerned.
They're not the be all and end all. I took half a victory lap because I partied too hard my first semester, and then halfway through college I realized I was in the wrong major, but I was like, too late to change. We'll just stick it out. But yeah, so I got a
What did you graduate with?
a major in business admin and a minor in entrepreneurial leadership, and halfway through the Crimean Peninsula situation popped off, and I was way more interested in that than business. And I was like, damn it, I should have been a political science major. And I was like, well, we're already 2 years into a degree. We can't switch now.
And look at you now. You're doing this entrepreneurial stuff here, political commentary here.
Yep.
It's all coming right back for you, Ben.
Melding
it's
together.
all back. Yes.
I was just going to say, that's why he's such the entrepreneur that he is now. Look at us. Look at us now.
I used some of that knowledge when I was they put me in charge of running the snack bar at work. So bought all the stuff, and it was a modest 20% markup, so we could make small profit in order to buy more things for the snack bar, and everybody lost their minds. And I was like, okay, guys, you put me in charge of it. I got a degree. I'll use a little bit of it so that we can make money in order to not just break even all the time. And everybody was like, no, screw you, dude. $1.25 is too much for a muffin. It should be $1. And I'm like, you're gonna haggle with me over 25 cents?
Fucking capitalist pig, dude. Fucking capitalist pig.
The bourgeoisie they were not pleased. I said, here's your cake and eat it too. And they were like, nah, to the guillotine.
Actually, it sounded like you said, "Here's your muffin and eat it too,"
True.
and that's $1.25.
And that'll be $1.25.
And they said,
Yeah.
I'm not going to eat it unless it's $1."
And
That's
I was
really
like,
that's really the story.
I said, too bad. And then they got somebody else to go buy the snacks.
Right. Yeah, there you go.
I just hold on to the money now. That's all I do.
So I do have a question for you, Scott, not to completely change gears, but
Change away.
Or just change because
for
that's how we roll.
someone who is quite the Swiss Army knife or placenta, however you want to position that. And I'm trying to think of how I specifically want to phrase this question. If you had to give a guess, and I'm just so you know, I'm planning on asking all of our future guests this question because I want to have like one question that I think is like a really just good question for anybody. If you had to,
Am I the first that you're asking this question to of this
you
question?
are. You
So
are.
this is like a virgin experience.
This is a
All right,
virgin experience.
I'm with it. I'm with it.
And
Okay.
and I can promise you that I will rewatch this again to think of how I phrased this question, to think if I can phrase it better, or I think I got it on the head here. If you had to guess what the human experience is about, and or where we came from / why we are here, how would you maybe best answer that question?
Jesus Christ, dude.
And I know
Fucking
that's
hit him
very
with a ton
loaded.
of bricks.
Wow.
I know.
You know,
And-
Alex is going to be very disappointed if your answer does not involve aliens to some degree.
No, that's not true. That's not true. You can answer this question however in the hell you think is best, or as long or as short as you want.
You're going to have to say the question again so that I can get my head wrapped. Now that I've had this piece, right? And
Yes. Yes.
And you know, everybody else is going to be like, "Oh, I've got the answer." Because they're going to
no, and
I'm gonna wait for the YouTube comments.
They're going to be like, "I got that first guy that answered. He sounded like a
And-
blithering idiot."
And honestly, Scott, I asked it that way because I do feel very comfortable around you. Like, you've been an awesome guest thus far, and I'm not just saying that because like we're live and like that's what you're supposed to say to guests or whatever. But like, you really have been a really great interview thus far, and I've thoroughly enjoyed
100%.
everything. Maybe up until this point, you could really have it go south here. No, just the general human. Yeah, just the general human experience. You know, what do you think we're here for? Why do you think we're here? What do you think is most important to know about the general human experience? You know, you have a lot of track record just on life in general. You know, you've met a ton of people, you've done a lot of different things, you've spent a lot of time, you know, really in intricate self-examination. What do you think? Why are we here? What's most important to know as a human? Maybe to ask it more succinctly.
I think that I think the thing that I'll give you the two pieces. The thing that's most important to know and how that translates into why are we here? How's that? I think the thing that's
Perfect.
most important to know for every single person out there is that no one on this planet is immune to misery and bullshit. Nobody has the perfect life. Nothing you can buy or do is going to stop the misery and bullshit. Everybody that you look on Facebook and other places that talk about their new puppy and this thing and that, and all the great fucking life, it's all bullshit. Because if that was true, then we wouldn't have movie stars and highly successful people jumping on balconies and killing themselves. The misery and pain is the core truth of what every single person is going to experience here, right? And it's like we say, you know, taxes and death are inevitable, right?
Mm-hmm.
The two things that you hear all the time. But really it is, you know, misery is inevitable. We're all going to get old. We're all going to get sick. We're all going to die no matter what the hell we do or where we live. That's a piece that's going to happen. We're going to lose people around us. We're going to experience grief and loss. And that is the truth. And the second piece of that is that we spend almost all of our lives trying to prevent that truth. we run away from it, we push it away,
Amen.
we try to skip it, we try to get we're talking about the iPhones and this and that, we get the next thing that's going to be the panacea for that piece. So that piece of it's all kind of this bullshit that's there, and we spend our lives trying to push it away or trying to go after stuff that we think will make us feel better, is the trap that we're in. And so if that's true, that's what life is, then what's life about? Life's then about working through that and getting your head out of your ass. And then your life is about having compassion and caring and joy and support, even for the people that you are like, you are just a shitty human being and I can't stand you, because the truth of the matter is they're suffering just as much. They're not immune to that thing that you're suffering with. They're not immune to this piece. And so they are worthy of your compassion. You might think that they're a horrible person or they've done this, but they are struggling underneath at night when they go to bed and turn off the light, not in a 4-day course, but when they go and turn off the light and they pull that cover up, those same demons that every single person that you're struggling with, every single one of us is struggling with. And that should nurture a sense of love, a sense of compassion, a sense when you see, that piece of jealousy, we see somebody that gets something, we're like, oh man, that's not happening to me. We should be joyous for those people because they're suffering and they're getting their head above the water for a little breather. We should be like, oh, good for you, because we know that you're going to go under and pull the covers up and those demons are going to be there. So that's the what's going on with life. And I think, given that piece, what are we here for? Compassion, celebrating other people, and love, because it's a shitty experience that we're all going through. How's that?
I think you just set the bar extremely high for that question.
Do I need to get a whiteboard and I'll just start ranking? I'll just start ranking where our guest answered the life question.
And it's funny because it's not funny, and I'm realizing as I'm about to say this how kind of weird this is going to be. But I wrote a paper one time at my biblical college. I've talked about this in the past, why some serial killers go to heaven, which was not really very popular among some of my classmates.
I believe that would be received well.
No, but you do experience a vast majority of these people who are very disturbed in their head, who have either had like a dramatic brain injury or they've been abused to the point where like their brains have formed differently. What I'm trying to get to the whole grouping of this is you don't know what the fuck has happened to that person that's led them to be that person you are when you interact with them. So at the end of the day, just be as nice as you can. Just try to impact their experience on this planet as best as you possibly can in that time that you have with them. And that's all you can do as a human. You don't know what led them to that point that you get to interact with them, and you've had no impact on their life up until that point. So why not just try to take that experience and make it as best for them and as for yourself as possible? And essentially that's where I've got to this question of like, why are we here? What can we do? That sort of thing. Just try to be as good of a person to everyone that you impact as you can. And if you can put a stamp on that person's life to say, I made that person's life as good as I possibly can in that short experience we've had, what more can you do?
Right. Right. That's a great point.
That's it.
So think of this piece as to build off what you're. Oh, Ben, are you still here? I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm just taking it all in.
we're just talking.
No, I'm just taking it all in. I get to that point sometimes where I'm like.
No,
really,
I'm just making sure. We're just gonna the two of us
good.
are just gonna continue talking together.
I would sit here with a drink and just watch this like I was just a bystander watching TV or something. This has been great.
We've been doing it for an hour and we have like 9 hours left because we agreed to 10 hours earlier.
I paid our first 10-hour podcast.
So consider this piece. So think of a time, or think of a situation where you really had it with somebody. You cut them out of your life. You swore at them. They were a person in
Pariah.
your life. They might have been a great person. They might have been a girlfriend, boyfriend, but suddenly in your mind, they became public enemy number one, and basically, discharged them from your life or pushed them away or did whatever. You did something shitty. Before you did, think of this. This just in your own head. Think of what misery and pain you created for yourself. And you might still be engaging and rolling in this misery and pain. You might be like, they did this, I'm never going to forgive that fucking bastard. And you've created so much agita inside of yourself. And before you even acted, like we're not like boom, we're going to shoot you. We have to build up a lot of hate and misery, and I mean we're a really miserable person on the inside to do that, to take those actions. And so when you see those other people doing those actions, they're going through the same thing. They're really fucking miserable on the inside.
Yeah.
And that deserves compassion. It really deserves compassion. Because they're really suffering.
Right.
They're really trapped.
Yep. But I think we also, as humans, we do this hypocritical thing where they're like, well, I would never, and forget that we've done the exact same thing that we're watching happen to somebody else. And you're like, wow, that person's really a piece of shit for doing that to them, when perhaps not that long ago, you just did the exact same thing to somebody else. But oh, how quickly we forget our own miserable shittiness towards other people. We have this very most people have this very holier than thou attitude about things. They just think that they're better than everybody else. And
humans and hypocrisy, they go together like peanut butter and chocolate.
Yeah.
Right? That's the Reese's peanut butter cup of existence, human beings and hypocrisy.
And in the world of psychology, it's a very basic premise that you learn about Psychology 101, the whole projecting idea. It's a lot easier for me to recognize the faults within yourself versus looking internally to recognize the flaws within myself. But it's a lot easier for me to recognize the flaws in yourself if I have the same exact flaws in myself.
I just refuse to acknowledge that I have those.
It's literally Psychology 101. It's like one of the first fucking classes you learn about in psychology is the whole projecting idea. And we live it every single day. And it's, quote unquote, so hard to recognize. Nah, bro, that's part of being a human. That's called the human experience that we all share. So let's put our petty bullshit aside and realize we're all a lot more similar than we ever thought we'd be. End of the day, we're all just trying to make it in this fucked up existence we call life. So let's be nice to each other and try to help each other along the way versus fucking, well, you have this and I have that and you do that. Just fucking try to help somebody else out. Just be as nice as you can.
Right.
End of the day, we'll all be a lot better for it.
Absolutely.
True. It is true indeed. Let's see.
We were joking about rabbit holes and me going off on tangents at the beginning, and what do you know?
Went down one.
Look at that. Well, you had the question. You were the
one that kicked the rabbit out. You kicked your own rabbit and then chased it.
Okay, Scott, aliens.
That was last week, man. Oh, God.
Just kidding. That's kidding.
Hilarious.
What else? Where are we at time wise?
It's a pregnant pause. Look at that.
Yeah, I
Oh
know.
man,
It's super
time.
pregnant. Never take a minute to unscramble my brains here. We're right at an hour actually, so did really good. It flew by.
We can ask chat if anybody's got any questions also, but
Yep.
we
We'll
can
put this out to you,
do.
chat. If you guys have any questions, drop them in the chat box there, and we'll.
Do you have questions you haven't gotten to, Ben? Sorry, I've been kind of
No,
dominating the conversation.
You're good, dude. Like I said, I got to the point where I was so fascinated by everything that was like being talked about that I just like locked in and was just like absorbing. I went sponge mode and just started like and like absorbing everything. Let me look through your many blades of the knife here.
The whole placenta idea is fucking fantastic.
I'm not gonna lie to you, dude. I'm definitely on Team Swiss Army Knife, not Team placenta. Yeah. Okay, so the farm animal rescuer. What? Are you still like active in that? Is that just like
let me
rescuing?
tell you.
Yeah, I'm curious about this because like
we were I should send you the link of this. You should have a couple of hours ago. We were trimming a pig hoof, and it was,
Oh, so you're like the abused farm animals is the ones
squealing. A squeal from a pig is a defense mechanism. You could hear. I'm telling you, I'm in Vermont, but you could hear that pig squealing in Belgium. Let me tell you.
Shout out to our 7 Belgian viewers.
It was. It was crazy. And so, and because I rescued this pig, and this pig had horrible hooves that were kind of encroaching in on each other. And so I have a housemate, and I'm like, come on, I'm going to hold the pig while you trim the hooves. We got through 4 hooves, and then we trimmed, pigs like dogs, you can't trim their toenails too close because you might hit their quick.
Yep.
Yeah, and then boom, there's blood everywhere, and so the pig's like screaming, and I'm laying on top of it and holding it, and Kyle clipped and there was blood everywhere. He was totally horrified and mortified. I have some powder that put on. We got the other pigs out, and I'm like, he'll be fine. He's fine. It's clotted, and I'm sure it's going to be a sore piece, but he's not a very active pig, so this is a good time and it's better to have it trimmed and growing out than to have it it was horrible. It was horrible. It had to be done. But I have here on the rescue, I've got currently 4 pigs. That's 2 pigs too many. I try to keep 2. Two. Because they're good companions. And so I've got like 2 donkeys, and I've got 3 alpacas, and I've got 2 sheep. And I've rescued, like a year ago, I rescued like 10 alpacas. And unlike most people, people are going to be like, oh my God, I can't believe you said this. Most people who run a rescue are really hoarders. And that's their excuse. To be a hoarder is to say, yes, I'm running a cat rescue. All these cat people are going to be going off on
crazy cat lady
rails. Right. They're going to be like, I am a cat person. And they got
all rescues, okay?
Right.
Listen, they're all rescues, okay?
They're my only friends in life.
Yes. So we really work hard to rehome these animals. The animals that are here, the sheep, the donkeys, this is their like forever home. They're not going away, because what they really are the camp counselors. So when we got these alpacas who weren't really cared for, and they didn't know what it was like being alpaca, I don't know. I have this theory that the other alpacas said something in alpaca talk to the other alpacas and said, knock the shit off. This is what you need to do to be an alpaca. Come over here, do this with us, hang out. And they kind of get re-socialized to being a herd. The donkeys tell the other donkeys that come here, chill. Snap out of it. This is what you need. I know you were raised by yourself, and it was pretty shitty, but now this is what it means to be a donkey. Do this. And And then those get rehomed, and these guys hang out, and another crew comes in, and they do their kind of therapeutic community work with the animals, and they go. And this is just a hypothesis. I mean, I tell you, I have seen this happen. Like an animal comes in, and it's just vicious and screwy and wacky, and someone's like, "You're gonna have to put a bullet in this pig's head because it's so crazy," and it hangs out with these other pigs, and suddenly it's like, hey, I'm a pig. I thought I was a serial killer. I'm a pig. Oh, and then they can get homed with somebody, and they're like normal again. And so that's the piece that that we've been doing now for years and years and years.
Is that your full-time job then now, Scott? Is that like what you rely on for revenue, or do you have a full-time job?
I mean,
yeah.
I've got a couple full-time jobs.
Okay, yeah.
I do a lot of different things. And so most of the things I do, like, the stuff that I do for the rescue, I'm not making any money on that.
Well, I figured
I love doing that. It's like, the thing that I get the most joy from is that every Tuesday I teach Tai Chi to this group of elderly people.
Yep,
and I do that. And that's another thing I do. The things that are really cool in my life, I'm doing for free or nothing.
Well, it's for the soul. It's your payment is how you feel afterwards.
And for those of you that are just listening to this podcast, I'm not asking Scott that because he's coming to us live from like a box, like a cardboard box. There's like a wood paneled living room. It's like a very nice place behind him. So I figured that Scott's not, he's doing well in his life financially, but I'm hearing all these efforts that he's putting into, like rescue animals. I'm like, okay, I know that's not cheap. So Scott's got to be,
so people donate. We're a not-for-profit, and the other piece that has helped a lot is we have made I do a campground here through Hip Camp and the Dirt, and people can come camping here and camp it's like camping in a petting zoo. Nice. And all the money that happens when people come here and camp, all the money that happens from that experience goes directly to the care and feeding and saving of the animals.
Nice. I was about to say, your taxes must be hell every year.
Yeah, they take a while to do. Actually, as a not-for-profit, I just have to do the 990 because we're not over 50,000. So that's a nice piece. But yeah, my taxes are a little complicated with lots of different sources of income.
Yeah, I cannot imagine the forms in that. A quick question about the Tai Chi. Do you teach it in the park?
I do teach it in the park. You know, I teach it in the park.
I knew it. I just had a feeling.
You know what? It's really. I have to tell you this. This is the thing that gives me the most joy in my life. So I'm with these folks. I'm 59. I'm going to be 60 in a couple months, and I'm the youngest person in this group. There are people in their 80s in this group, and we are in a public park. And it's a public park outside. We started meeting when COVID hit around because we were trying to do Zoom, which is a shitty way to do Tai Chi. And so I'm like, we'll just meet in the park. We're still meeting in the fucking park. And I said to them, COVID's kind of winding down. I'm like, do you want to, wrap this up and, go back indoors? They're like, no. Like, we're meeting in this park in Vermont. It's like fucking 14 degrees outside, and we're meeting in this park. These people show up. It's a park. Grass.
No, I get it. Yeah, that's awesome.
They show up with shovels.
And just shovel out their Tai Chi spot.
The snow in their little Tai Chi path down to the grass. I made a mistake once. And it was raining. It was crazy weather. It was like a hurricane. I was like, I'm not going. I came up next week, there are people there. They're like, where were you last week? I'm like, you gotta be fucking kidding me.
Damn hurricane outside. You guys are becoming one with the chi?
We have not missed it. This one person in our group, I'll never forget. Her name's Maxine. It was raining, and I'm like, and I was getting cold. I'm getting cold. I turned to her. It's like Vermont. This is like true Vermonter, right? And I said, do we need to wrap up? Are you getting wet? Are you okay? And Maxine looks at me and goes, what do I look like? Like I'm made of sugar? And I'm like, well, I guess we're fucking continuing
yeah,
to be in the
Maxine.
rain and
Maxine's
whatever.
a hard ass.
She is a hard ass.
I ain't made of sugar. I'm doing just fine out here.
And so we teach I taught a bunch of Tai Chi pieces to these folks, and a person said to me, in the group, Gail, she said, "Is there more?" And I'm like, "You guys don't want more." So I've taught this complicated Tai Chi form called Sun 73. It's 73 different moves.
Good Lord.
And I've slowed it down because one of the things in Tai Chi is there's some very dynamic kind of projecting moves that you do and so I have slowed all those down. Not just it's not about people being older, I don't want folks to break a hip, but it's the fact that we're out in this Tai Chi field in the snow and ice, right? We can't be leaping forward and landing. We need to have cleats on our feet.
Hey, Maxine ain't made out of sugar.
Yeah, Maxine
right?
said,
so
I will project
you just put all those moves right on in there, and Maxine will fucking make up her mind for herself, right? She ain't made of sugar, boy.
Man. I love that group. It's the best part of my week.
Fantastic.
If I'm having no matter what's going on, and once I go to that group for an hour on Tuesdays, I'm like, I'm awesome. I'm awesome. It's the best. It's the best gift I could have gotten for myself.
Awesome.
And I don't pay a penny for it. It's just
meeting out doing some Tai Chi.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, there's some videos of us doing it outside. I shot this. I have a drone, and I wanted to do this. Oh, what a nightmare! I wanted to get this. I wanted to get this drone video of us doing this, doing the Tai Chi, and so I got the drone. You're not supposed to fly drones when it's really really cold out, but part of my. Yeah. That's the crazy thing in my voice is I was like, yeah, I know that. I passed the FAA certification exam. I know you're not supposed to fly in this weather, but it's me. It's me. I am a placenta of information. I know what I'm doing. I am the jack of all trades, the Swiss Army knife. I'm flying the drone. And in my arrogance, I started the drone and it went up and we got the whole video, and then it wouldn't land. It just wouldn't want. It was like Flonka would come down and then it would go up, and would come down, then it would go up. And so I waited till it come down and did the worst thing. You should never do this if you have a drone, which is try to catch it, because the drone has these things that spin to take it off the
really
ground.
fast. Yeah,
really
they
fast.
could potentially
and even,
cut your fingers. Yeah,
they did. Even though
they probably would.
Did. And so then I'm there with my finger and blood spurting everywhere, and they're like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'm fine.
I'm fine. It's just my hubris."
Just a flesh wound. It's fine.
It was. Yeah, so we have just finished we're just doing the polishing parts of Sun 73. So last week we started working on bending our legs more and going even slower, which is really hard to do. I mean, I finished this class on my quadriceps and knees are going wah 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 from going so slow, right? It'd be like, go stand in the corner and squat for an hour. Don't lean against the wall, just bend your legs and just do that for an hour and then see how you feel. That's kind of what it is. There's movement, but we're moving so slow now that it's very, very hard. And they're doing it. They're amazing.
More power to them. They're getting that good fresh air and that good exercise.
Yeah, there's a waterfalls right by us. I mean, you could see the waterfalls when you're where we're doing this. It's just fantastic.
Picturesque.
It's fantastic. Yeah.
I would like to join. That sounds very nice.
Alex will be making the weekly flight to Vermont now for Tai Chi.
There you go. It's free. It's no charge.
Minus your plane ticket there.
We do it rain or shine, regardless of weather, because You know,
Maxine
I
ain't
mean,
a bitch.
are you made of
I'll
made
bring
of
my
sugar?
shovel.
Maxine
No,
ain't no
I
Bring your
ain't.
bitch.
shovel.
Hey, brother, I ain't made of no sugar. All right. If Maxine's out there, fucking bet your ass I'm gonna be out there, boy. All right.
Yeah.
Me and Maxine out there, fucking shoveling 6x6 patches of snow, just so we can be out there getting some work in. You know.
Yeah.
That's good. Well, we have had no questions from chat, but Alex, you got anything else you wanna throw out there before we wrap her up?
I don't, unless there's anything we haven't touched on that has just been itching at you, Scott, to go over.
Yeah,
If there's anything
No,
else.
this has been great. I'll have to come out another time. We can talk about other stuff. We
Yes,
could talk about the
100%.
marijuana stuff another time. That would be a fun.
Oh,
the
true. We were
marijuana stuff,
just talking
yes.
about that and completely got off track. Oh well, yeah, whatever.
No, but you have an open invitation anytime you want, Scott. You
Yep.
come join us, and we'll
Let us
definitely
know.
do this again sometime.
100%.
That's
This
for
has been
sure.
a great Sunday night. I've had a blast and a half hanging out with
Great.
you
Well,
guys.
Good.
That makes us
I'm
happy.
glad to hear that.
Yep. So again, if you ever just want to hop on again on a Sunday night, just ping us in the Discord here, and we'll make it happen.
Okay.
But
A drive-by pop in.
yeah. Boom. Scott's here. Oh snap. Scott's here and he wants to talk about weed. No, this has truly been great. I appreciate you so much for taking the time to come on and talk with us. It's an amazing podcast. So yeah, with that, we're
Any plugs you want to hit, Scott? Anywhere
sure.
to find you or podcasts you've been on, or
If you just Google my name, G. Scott Graham, you will find tons of stuff on me on
can confirm I did that.
YouTube, on Wisdom. I'm all over the place.
Yep.
you have
Easy to find.
15 books?
18
Is that
now.
right?
18.
I'm finishing up my 18th right now.
18th. So people can just find that on your website and on
Yeah, you can go
Amazon
on Amazon and Borders, and it's not Borders anymore. I don't know what it is. It's the Nook. You know, it's on Google Play. Some of them are free. I have a time management book. It's a couple hundred pages. It's free, and so some things I price, some things I have not priced, and
I will put Scott's website and some of his social media handles in the description underneath this, so you guys will be able to just have quick access to that and go check everything out.
Yeah, and when I post to Spotify and Apple and all that, I'll just put your website in the description of the show notes, so people can just
great
use that, and that'll be the easiest way. But yeah, buy his book. Do something for the man, okay? He's given you almost an hour and a half now of free entertainment
for the animals.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. God damn it. Support the animals, okay?
The animals,
buy
damn
a
it.
fucking book from this guy. Jesus Christ. Do you even love the animals or not? Go fucking buy something, all right?
All right. Yeah, once again, Scott, thank you so much for coming on. It was truly a pleasure talking with you this evening.
Absolutely.
With that, we are going to wrap it up for the night. So, guys, we will be back again next week, next Sunday evening, same place, same time. Alex, we have another guest next week, or is it our off week?
No, we have another guest. We have 2 weeks in a row after this lined up with guests.
Perfect.
Next week is
it the selling the dead people stuff guy?
Yeah, selling dead people stuff. And then the next week after that is someone who had a near-death experience.
Ooh.
That I'm stoked about all of our guests.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not sure they'll be able to live up to Scott, but good luck. Hey,
when we get to the life question,
guys, okay? I'm praying for you guys. I'm really, really hoping everything's gonna go great. But yeah, we have next week will be great just for kind of a lighthearted talk. But then after that, next week is I'm gonna be in the weeds, brother.
All right, perfect. Well, there's our schedule for the next 2 weeks. Look forward to that. Gonna be great conversations with both of those guests. But that is gonna do it for us tonight. So without further ado, make sure you always
Are you sending that to
I'm
me
sending
like
that
that?
to you
That
this
was
time. Come on.
fucking weak.
That was
energy,
not
bro.
that weak energy.
Hey, as always,
I didn't know what he was doing either. I didn't know what he was doing either.
Yeah,
He's
no,
like,
Normally
thank
we
you,
have a little
Scott.
outro
Thank you,
bit.
Scott.
We have a little outro bit, and then I guess it was just didn't live up to Alex's standards tonight.
Every week, Scott, I tell people, make sure you tell somebody you love them. Okay, make sure you find somebody that you love in this world, and whether they've heard it from you recently or not, tell them again tonight that you love them. Okay, reach out, tell somebody you love them. All right,
that is great advice.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that,
advice.
Scott. See, that's the kind of energy we were looking for, Ben.
All right, dude.
Don't
Next
you
week
say,
I'll send you a 95-mile-an-hour fastball of that energy, so you can just crank one out the park.
I love both of you genuinely, and I love everybody listening to this. Okay.
Yeah, it's been great. All right, guys. We will see y'all later. Have a great week, and we'll see you back on next Sunday. Adios.
Thank you.